I thought it'd be really interesting to consider what might be underground or hidden. What would you find and what would it tell you about the place? So that's where I'm coming from with the work. When you find out something about a place, then you feel more attached to it. You see it in a different light. And with each of these works that I've done, each of the 17 works, different stories are associated with them all. One reason that I use found objects in the way that I do is that I want them, however humble, to be presented as precious objects, things worthy of consideration with their own stories to tell, to present them in a way that makes people think about them in a different light. Now, this is an old wool shed that they've reclaimed, and they're dividing it up into spaces for all different sorts of people to work in. It's always a bit daunting having an empty studio. You know, it's like when I've done residencies and walked in and there's nothing there and you're like, oh my God. But it's kind of exciting too, because it's always like the start of a new venture. So it kind of looks very bare at the moment, but that won't be for long. The way that I've got people to think about possible stories is by the words that I've put on the crates. So instead of using the words that you would normally find on museum crates, I've used a similar kind of composition, but the word tells you something about the core sample that's on top. And if you consider that, then you'll be led into a story about that particular object that's on top. This is an interesting one. This was also like discarded at the lawn tip, so it's probably from a building site. Looking at the history of these ceramic plumbing pipes, it goes back to Babylon, you know, thousands of years, 4,000 years BC, and they were still used until the 70s. But now, of course, plastic pipes have taken over. Think of them as artefacts, you know, like it'll probably be a shock to some people to see this as one of my core samples. But I just think it's really interesting. I really find the use of objects that have had another life quite compelling, and the challenge for me is to get people to look at them and think about them in a different way, to see the magic in them, if you like, to see what's inside them and possibilities for interpretation. So beyond just the ordinary object that it might have begun as. I found it really exciting to see what's inside of rocks and bricks and so on, what it tells you about it, because for example with this one you look at the outside of it and it's just like you can imagine a lava flow there and you think, oh okay, but once you cut into it and have a look at cross sections, you kind of can see how things are made and how, you know, like all the details of it, and it's all like fresh, I suppose. I kind of find it interesting just I mean, especially if you look out there, for example, and you look at, say, an old brick, and on the outside it's just a rough, you know, nondescript object that you probably wouldn't pick up or think anything else about. But if we have a look out there, I can show you the core of the bricks, and they're just amazing. You know, like some of them are really old bricks, and it looks like the clay. You can almost see what it's made of and think of where it comes from. These ones here that you're filming now, these ones are actually from the core sample library in Werribee, and one of the things I like about each project I do is what I learn from it. And I'd never even knew a core sample library existed, and going to it was really fascinating. And so these are actual core samples that have come from the depths of the earth, and they come from different places. The core samples are extremely varied. The local sandstone, mudstone, also imported rock that people might have used in their gardens. They include a Victorian door of the type that you would see on the many guest houses from the 19th and earlier 20th century. They include bricks from old houses that have been demolished, a rusted wheel hub, a real variety of things, so that when you look at the whole installation, I hope that people will get a sense of a lot of different aspects of Lorne and a lot of the different stories that might be attached to those core samples. The manager had in his office this beautiful core sample that was wood. In fact, he had a number of wooden ones. And so when I went back to my site, one of the trees had fallen and it had been sliced, and I thought back to the core sample library, and I thought I would use that as my signature core sample piece for the tea tree site. But I spent many hours taking that bark off and really trying to see the structure of the tree, what was beneath the bark, and it turned out to be this beautiful sinuous piece of tea tree. To enhance that, I put some bioluminescent granules in the paint and painted the whole debarked piece of tea tree white. And in the night it glows and you get that sense of the mysterious, the unseen. And the word that I attached to the crate for that is resonance, because I felt that the whole piece resonated with the site, with Lorne, with what you don't see there. When you look at the whole installation, I hope that people will get a sense of a lot of different aspects of Lorne and a lot of the different stories that might be attached to those core samples.